Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR HALACHA. Here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Tuesday, 19th day of November, 21st day of CHESHVAN. We're continuing on with more laws about salt. Okay, so on Shabbos or Yom Tov, it's not really appropriate to make large amounts of very salty water. I'll tell you why. It's because in the tanning process, what you do is you take the hide off of an animal and you put it into salty water. When you make a large amount of very salty water, it appears that you're beginning the tanning process, and you're not allowed to do that on Shabbos or Yom Tov. It's one of the 39 malachos that you're not allowed to do. Now, you may say to me, I'm not tanning. I don't have any animals. I never skinned an animal in my life. I don't know anything about tanning hides. But nevertheless, we still view any making of large amount of very salty water as if you're beginning the tanning process, and it's still not to be done. If you're making a little bit of salty water, just a little bit to dip something at your Shabbos table or whatever, that's fine. Okay, now on to other salt laws, and that is some people want to have some salt on their matzah during Pesach. Helps with the taste of the matzah, which is kind of plain. So some people say that it's not a good idea to do what we usually do, which is have the salt on the table and just dip into it. And that's because we're worried about that way some moisture getting onto the matzah, which could cause some problems with the matzah, possibly turning into chametz. Less problem of that. Also, it's just because when you have salt on the table and you dip matzah into the salt's not going to stick to the matzah too well. So it's also a practical consideration. Better to just take the salt and sprinkle it onto the top of your matzah. The Ramah says that we should not use salt at the Seder on our matzah, and he says it's because it's leil shimurim, and so no extra shmira or watching of yourself is necessary, or your foods. That's what salting does. And so there is, according to some idea of not using salt on your matzah at the Seder. Incidentally, when you have matzah for motzi matzah, it is most appropriate to just have you and the matzah and just the taste of the matzah going into your mouth. On Rosh Hashanah, you know that we dip our challah into honey, and that leads to all kinds of considerations of what happens to the usual custom of dipping your challah into salt. So different people do different things. Some people dip the challah into salt, and then after the salt is on, they dip it into honey. That's what some do. Some don't dip into salt at all. Some dip one end of the challah into salt and the other end into honey. You may want to speak to your rabbi about what's the most appropriate way for you to go, but there is something about dipping in salt and dipping in honey on Rosh Hashanah. Look into that more if you want to. I know it's the wrong time of the year right now. We're just educating you. Thanks for logging on. Log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.